Welcome back guys. So in this video I'll be talking about the settings of EtherSX2 emulator. This is the subreddit page of EtherSX2. Talred posted this video showcasing the per game settings feature. The emulator supports both global and per game settings. So let's check out these settings. Okay, so this is the emulator's interface. You can see two games, Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X Part 2. Here you can see the formats of these games. .chd. With .chd format, the size of the game should be smaller as compared to other formats like .iso and .bin. You can convert your game files to .chd format using chdman. Conversion should be lossless. Coming back to per game settings, quoting Talred, a useful feature, especially for PS2 games, is to use different settings for different games. EtherSX2 now lets you customize per game settings, automatically applying them when you switch games. Let's start by seeing what our global settings are. Okay, let's see the global settings. Before opening the global settings, check out the interface settings here. Executables, start file, start BIOS. This emulator requires BIOS. App settings, from here we access the global settings. Controller settings, emulator supports gamepads. Import memory card. Let's play the video. So you can see the settings interface here. First we have general settings, then we have system settings, graphics setting, audio settings, and lastly game list. So under the general setting, first we have enable frame limit. There is a toggle to activate or deactivate it. Description for every setting has been provided. For enable frame limit setting, if disabled, the system will run as fast as possible. This setting will be very useful when we have underclocked the CPU of PS2 and uncapped the FPS. With these settings on phones with powerful processors, the game would be running in a fast forward manner if the FPS is not capped. Then we have enable game fixes, automatically applies compatibility settings for known games. This is good. Fast boot basically skips the BIOS intro, booting directly into the game. Enable patch codes. This enables user provided patch codes. Let's play the video. Okay, Talred directly jump to graphics setting. Here we have the GPU render setting first. On Adreno GPUs, both OpenGL and Vulkan API are supported. On Mali GPUs, only OpenGL is supported. Then we have upscale multiplier, 1x native. We'll be showing you the numeric value of the resolution in the later part of the video. MIP mapping, interlacing, both set to automatic. Okay, aspect ratio can be adjusted as well. Enable widescreen patches. Emulator also supports VSync. Usually with VSync enabled, it eliminates screen tearing, but it can add a small amount of input lag. Yeah, that's it with the setting. Now he will start the game. So he will be loading a save state. Here you can see start game, load state, game properties. From here you can set the per game settings. We'll cover that in the later part of the video. Choose cover image, create launcher shortcut. I think with this shortcut we will be able to directly boot the game from our Android interface. Yeah, as you can see, these are the save states. The game booted very quickly. This is 4:3 aspect ratio, so the global settings are working. Check out the overlay. First we have the FPS counter. FPS is around 60, 100% speed. This is the alpha build. A Xiaomi device is being used. From its code it seems this is Poco F3 or Mi 11X. OpenGL. Here resolution is mentioned, as you can see 1024 by 832. Now the thing is 1x resolution was set, but this resolution is considerably higher than 1x. Actually this is 2x resolution. Under this video Talred posted this, that it was a mistake on his part. So it seems this is the numeric value for 2x resolution. Here you can see the EE, GS and VU parameters. Now from my experience of testing games, you don't want any one of these parameters to be around 99. Otherwise your phone will heat up a lot, especially if it's the summer season. Good to see that the values here are not even higher than 50%. Some viewers were asking where's the right analog stick. Now Talreth has disabled it, but in one of his posts he mentioned about the right analog stick. It's definitely present. You can see L3 button is also present. I'll cover it in the later part of the video. Now Talreth will be accessing the in-game interface settings. Yeah, as you can see, here we have load state, save state, toggle frame limiter, toggle software renderer, exit game, patch codes. Now he will be accessing the per game setting. Exit the game, game properties. First we have summary for the titles, and you can see game settings. So these are the system settings: EE cycle rate, EE cycle skip, enable multi-threaded VU1. Now to improve the performance on our device, we can underclock the CPU of PS2. This can be done by setting the EE cycle rate to a negative value. If the gameplay feels sluggish, in combination to EE cycle rate setting, we can set EE cycle skip to a positive value. When it comes to enable multi-threaded VU1 setting, as far as I know, this helps in improving the performance if a processor has more than 3 cores. I'll see its effect when I have the build with me for testing. Okay, so here upscaling set to 2x, aspect ratio set to 16:9, widescreen patches applied. Let's see. Loading save state. Yeah, as you can see, aspect ratio has been set to 16:9. Here it's mentioned 6 widescreen patches are active. You can see the numeric value of the resolution is still the same. And now he'll be running another game, and make sure the other game isn't affected. This is particularly useful for underclocking, where you will need to use different values for different games depending on your hardware. Loading the other game. As you can see, 4:3 aspect ratio. Exit the game. That's it. Just under this video you can read Talreth's comment that he made an error here. For Final Fantasy Part 10, he had set 2x upscaling in game settings. Now answering some common questions, you can change the layout of the on-screen touch controls, and there's the right analog stick. Some people asked Talreth about it and he showed them this image. Opacity can also be adjusted. Then a lot of people were asking about controller support. As you can see, Talreth replied, PS4, Xbox, etc. controllers work so long as your device supports them. That is, we are using Android's native controller support, not talking directly to them over HID. Now HID is the input mode used by Android controllers. This gamepad is AMCAT Evo Gamepad Pro 3. It supports Android HID mode. Now Daemon PS2 emulator supports HID mode only. This controller works with it by default out of the box. Now this is Xbox One controller. It supports X input mode. Android is able to detect it and receive input from it. But since Daemon does not support X input, some of its keys don't work properly. Right trigger of it is not detected at all. Same goes for PS4 controller. PS4 controller supports D input mode. It is also not supported by Daemon. Some of the viewers have told me that they were able to use PS4 controller with Daemon PS2, but again some of the keys were not working properly. Our PlayStation and Xbox controllers should work with EtherSX2 as long as they are detected by our phone's Android ROM. Another thing to mention here, Talreth has confirmed that the emulator does not require internet connection in order to run. As you can see, someone asked him, will the app run without internet connection? Talreth replied, of course, Ether currently does not even request internet permission. No permissions at all actually. So guys, I'll end the video here. I hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.